What is up and what is good, MWMIV Speaks podcast family? Y'all, it's been a while since I've come to y'all. There have been some huge things going down Broadway Con, talking to some of my favorite people on Broadway theater and just in the industry. From James Monroe, Iglehart, Sierra Baga, Stephanie J. Blog to Alex Brightman, Drew Gasparini, and Lynn Ahrens. It's fire right now. And actually, you can go check it all out on my YouTube channel, or maybe you're already on my YouTube channel, MWMIV Speaks. So I'm going to link all those below on Spreaker and SoundCloud and all the other things. So check it out. Today, we are getting into La Vie Boheme and Rent, the differences and the connections in the two shows. So essentially, I am doing a countdown to the Rent 20th anniversary tour, which gets to Atlanta, Georgia at the Fox Theater on my birthday, February 20th. So we are turning up for the one time, and I'm giving y'all a fire countdown. I don't know why I did this. This is a lot of work. But yeah, let's hop into it real quick. So we are going to be reviewing, if you didn't read my blog post from yesterday, I reviewed Acts 1 and 2 of the opera La Boheme, which is what Rent is based off of. So you can go to my website, marshallwmabryiv.com, and find out all the things on that. Go read that whole thing because it took a while, and then come back over here and then listen to this part, and then, you will know everything going on with La Boheme's Act 1 and 2, and then Act 3 and 4, which are Rent Act 1 and Rent Act 2. So let's get into the connections, the comparisons, and all the things that really make me happy. So essentially, with La Boheme, also this is just a random thing. Shout out to Wikipedia because I couldn't be doing this without you. But this is the synopsis that Wikipedia gives us, and I am just drawing parallels from Rent because I love this show and I know it really well actually. So it opens with peddlers walking through the barriers and into the city. I see that moment as Seasons of Love and how they begin to disperse and go out and go through people. So basically, La Boheme opens, Act 3 opens with Mimi appearing and coughing violently. She would have had what is tuberculosis. Essentially, that would have been the illness at the time, which Jonathan Larson, of course, then replaced with AIDS, HIV, which is a huge disease that was going around in the late 80s, early 90s, and late 90s when the show was taking place. Yeah. So she goes to a little tavern where she finds Marcello, who becomes Mark, and he is living there in a little tavern where he is painting signs for his innkeeper, which is a little connection to him working for Lexi at what is essentially like BuzzFeed for those of us that are up to date on things happening today. So she tells him of her hard life with Rodolfo, who is Roger, who abandoned her the night before, and Rodolfo's terrible jealousy. If you are a Rent head like me, and I don't want to, have any spoilers out there, so please stop listening if you have not seen the show. Actually, you can go to the blog post I uploaded yesterday, and you can find the link to go purchase those tickets when it hits the Fox Theater. Go do that and go see the show. But it doesn't really say anything about her relationship. If there was a relationship with Benoit, who is the original Benjamin Coffin III, and if they had a relationship, but his jealousy is growing, and she's telling Marcello all these things, and he's like, "Yo, Rodolfo is asleep inside," and he expresses her concern about Mimi's cough and what's really going on there, and the character's name is actually Mimi, which is like, okay, Jonathan, it's a choice. I'm not gonna hate it. And then Roger or Rodolfo wakes up and comes out looking for Mark. Mimi hides and overhears Rodolfo first telling Marcello that he left Mimi because he thought she was just gonna die, and he didn't want to be around long enough to see another person that he loves dying. He fears that she is slowly being consumed by this deadly illness, tuberculosis, or in Rent, AIDS. Which is, I actually do believe this is the song Without You, in which she hears this, and there's actually a moment in the show where she hears that, he's like, I just think she's like, and it's a ramble on, it's a rage, but it's also really heartfelt from Roger, and she hears it, and she just runs out. It's one of those things. So that is a moment in the show, and Jonathan did a lot with this show. for it to just be, I think, his third show that he wrote, but behind Tick Tick Boom and another one. But yeah, so out of the kindness towards Mimi, Mark tries to get Roger to stop talking, but she's heard it all and she's weeping, and it's just like she's out. But in this third act, I did realize that there isn't much talk of Musetta, who is Maureen. There we go. Who is Maureen and her relationship with Joanne, or I have no idea how to say this name, y'all. Forgive me. That's just not my forte. But it starts with an A. You can go look this up yourselves at La Boheme on Wikipedia. But there's not much talk of them, and actually, the way they spin this, Musetta is actually fighting to get back with Mark or Marcello. Yeah, so it actually, what Jonathan did, which is really interesting to me, is he flipped Marcello, and I guess Maureen's other partner, who would have been Joanne, he switched those roles. So essentially, Marcello in the third act is really Joanne. So the couple is quarreling about Musetta's flirtatiousness, which is take me or leave me. And you don't get much talk about Chouinard and Colleen or Collins and Angel, because gay relationships wouldn't have been portrayed at this time in the 19th century on a opera stage, you know, that just, it wasn't a thing. So then we get into Act 4 of La Boheme, and Mark and Roger are trying to work, though they are primarily talking about their girlfriends, which is the song On Your Own. No, What You Own. Yeah, and they talk about in America, you're what you own, and you know, that whole type of thing, and who have talk about the lovers that have left them and found wealthy lovers. Then Rodolfo sees Musetta in a fine carriage, and Marcello has seen Mimi dressed like a queen, and that just changes the way they look at these women, and it almost hurts them before. But yeah, there's a very interesting thing with Chouinard and Colin that I have to talk about. So Chouinard and Colin, they arrive at a very frugal dinner and all parody eating a plentiful banquet, dance together and sing before Chouinard and Colin engage in a mock duel. I think the whole plentiful dinner, that might have been the song Halloween, in which that takes place, where he's Kitty Galore and all those things happen. But that mock duel, I don't know about that. So then later, Maureen or Musetta appears, and Mimi, she is basically leaving Rodolfo. So it's that moment after Angel's death, essentially in Rent, where everything has just like it's just gone. It's all falling apart, and then skip to the end of Rent and also the end of Act 4, where they find Mimi. She begged Musetta to bring her to Rodolfo, just like how they do in the show, which is like, it's so crazy. You see the comparisons with the show, even in some of the exact lines they say in the show, like right here in the show, when Mimi is believed to be dying, Rodolfo, he brings her a present of a pink bonnet that he bought her in the opera. But in the show, as you know, Roger is a musician, and he writes her the song, and they remember their past happiness and their first meeting, and the candles, you know. In the opera, it is the lost key, but in the musical, it's like her bag of cocaine. But she's overwhelmed by a coughing fit, and he's playing the song to her, and he reassures her that she'll be better, and then, you know, she dies. Like, just dies. She dies. Rodolfo rushes to the bed, calling Mimi's name in anguish, weeping helplessly, and then the curtain just falls. Like, she just dies. Which, spoiler alert, is unlike the actual musical Rent, in which, you know, she comes back. But one thing that Jonathan did that was genius is, it's very explicit in the way that he took from the opera, and I appreciate that. Rodolfo rushes to the bed and calling Mimi's name in anguish. That moment where Roger's like singing / yelling, depending on who you see. He screams Mimi's name, and it's like a gut-wrenching moment. Or even when he talks about, they talk about Mimi being bathed in the moonlight and light my candle, which is something that he took specifically from this opera. I guess you should say. So yeah, that is the connections between Act 3 and 4 of La Boheme and Rent Act 2. I think that I have a deeper appreciation of this show actually because of this. And yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram at MWMIV Speaks, on Facebook at Marshall W. Mabry IV and MWMIV Speaks. Go to my official website, Marshall W. Mabry IV. Check out all the blog posts. I will definitely be giving there's actually a documentary about the making of Rent that I want people to see, so I'm going to be dropping that as one of the days for my countdown. Hopefully I can get an interview with the cast of Rent, and that can be a thing that we can do. And go to my Twitter at MWMIV Music, SoundCloud at MWMIV Speaks, and I think that is all the things. So y'all, I will be back with more really, really soon. I will be back with a BroadwayCon recap, even though I'm a month late. I'm sorry, y'all. It's a lot, and I was really overwhelmed, and I really was not prepared for that opportunity, but I thank God that it happened. I will be back to talk about the Black Panther and all the things going on there, and maybe even something going on in the web series world with the Juggernaut and TV currently. So I will be back for more, y'all. All right, peace.